Mark's Reviews and Tutorials video. Well, you've got yourself this beautiful flashy BMW and you want to do something very, very simple like take the wheel off, which is a great little endeavour. The problem is these BMWs supplied with run flat tyres do not come with jacks, do not come with wheel spanners and all of the bits necessary. Instead, if you have a look under here, if you're lucky, you're going to find a tin of something like that to be able to pump your tyre back up again. And also, maybe if you're really lucky, you'll have some sort of kit that you can do ongoing or on the road repairs with. Have a look. I'll put a link up to a video up here that talks about how to not get stranded with run flats. Very, very important. And all the products you see in the video, kits, even the pressure pack, if you don't have one, and how they work. I'm going to put links in the description so you can buy all those bits and pieces. Don't have run flat tyres on how to have one of those, because even though the tyre doesn't go flat, you're very limited. You can only do 80 kilometres at 80 kilometres an hour, so you're very limited as to what you can go. If you can pump it back up again with one of those cans, you can run on, finish your trip, you're on a trip, etc, etc. So very important. So that's your reality. What are you going to do about that? For me, I would suggest that you get yourself some tools, get yourself the ability to take the wheel off your car. So many different reasons, so many different things you might want to do it from, even from washing, checking your tyre, all sorts of things. But if you don't want every single time a wheel has to come off, or you need to inspect the brakes or something like that for it to be, you know, a tow truck if you're stuck, or having to go down to the dealers all the time, you are going to need some basic tools because they no longer come with your car. Now, you're going to need a jack to be able to lift the car up. Now, mine is a little bit more serious than what you'll have to end up with. Again, I've got a video up here about what jack to buy. If you've got a 3 or a 1 Series BMW, you actually need to get one with a low front like that. But have a look at that video that talks about which jack to buy, because the standard jacks don't even fit underneath. If you've got an X like this, of course, there's no problem at all. But you can also get bottle jacks. I'll put links to all of them. You can decide how much money you want to spend. Ultimately, something like this that can lift a bit, this is a capacity 2.5 ton, is what you need. Something that'll lift the car up. Now, BMW specific, they will all come with jack points, and the cars still do need to be jacked up. These here, and have a look underneath, you see inside, these are the jack points, these square lifting points. And what this is all about here, this is a BMW specific thing that goes onto your jack and fits in. You'll see here, fits into that jack point and locks into place. That's not going to slip or slide or go anywhere else because it fits inside. Now this is, again, I've had BMWs right back to 1999. Well, that's here in Australia. I had an E36 before that, so even earlier, 1996 I think it was. All the same jack point. Lots of different jacks, different styles, but the same jack point for all of them. So, you know, all that sort of stuff is available. Now, you're also going to need a wheel spanner. Now, if you do have a big socket set, something like this, and I'm talking with a 1/2 inch drive on it, and a big socket like that, you will be able to take the wheels off with that. You just need this, and for a BMW, a 17mm socket, or whatever size it is you have. If you've got a little socket set like that, look like the size of my hand here, mine's a bit ratty, but with a little socket like that, that is not enough. You will not be able to get wheel nuts undone with a little socket set like that. They're simply not big enough and not strong enough to get them off if you try with something like that. Wheel nuts are notoriously tight. I would recommend something like this as the base sort of thing to buy. That's called a 4-wheel spanner or a wheel spanner. And again, the real benefit in this is that it comes with 4 different size heads on it. 99% of BMWs have got a 17mm bolt is what's required. Also 17mm when you're changing the oil, doing some basics on your car. It's normally a 17mm sump plug in the bottom of a BMW as well. So that's the size to have. And as a matter of fact, my big kit here didn't have a 17, it had a 16 and an 18. So I had to go and buy a 17, which I've used very, very often. Again, I bought a 6-sided because things like wheel nuts, they can be very, very tight. Have a look, I've got a video up here about how to get super tight wheel nuts off as well using this 17mm socket. And the 6-sided socket rather than a 12-sided socket is just a little bit stronger. Jack, you've got yourself a wheel spanner or a big socket set. What you need extra is also a set of jack stands or a jack stand. It's absolutely vital that, now again, you don't have that if you're just pulling wheels up and changing them on the side of the road normally, but if you're going to be working on brakes, if you're going to be working on anything else, if you're going to be sticking your head under the car, basically, you don't ever trust any jack, no matter how big it is or what sort of quality it is, you put a jack stand under. So you've got the jacking point to jack it up, then you've got to find something solid underneath to put the jack stand under so that the car can't drop down on it. So they're the minimums of what I think you'll need. And yes, I'll give you a rundown. We'll put the jack in place and jack the car up and show you how it all happens. Okay, so we're ready to jack the car up. Now, the first thing you need to do is chock the wheel. Now, this is like a collapsible wheel chock sort of thing. Did come, it's actually got Toyota motor, come with a Toyota originally. This is something I've just got to use, but you know what? A brick, a decent sized lump of wood. If you have a look on that front tyre there, you'll see there's a lump of wood in front of it. That's not big enough. That's just our drive to touch, so we know how far to come into the shed spot. So something about the size of a brick. And you do not put it under the wheel that you're about to jack up, obviously. So we need to prop, I'm going to prop the diagonal opposite. So I'm going to prop both sides of the wheel diagonally opposite of the one I'm going to take off. Okay, so let's go. We bring the jack into place. With the wheels adequately chopped, we just line that up, then jack it up. Now, if it's a bottle jack, which is the ones up vertical, it's very similar, that you're pumping a hydraulic handle like this. And there's also scissors jacks where you can turn a wheel. But with this, it's just a matter of lining it up so that it goes into the hole like that. There we go. Now this is going to lift straight up. This is a 2.5 ton jack. If you've got something big like an X5 or a 7 series or even a 5 series, you're going to need something like this. A 1 ton jack will lift like a 1 series or like a small little car. As you can see, we're actually lifting it quite a long way. There's a lot of stresses and strains put in place. So we don't want to lift it miles off the ground. We just want to get the wheel off the ground. Now, when you're taking the wheel off, this has got the handbrake on, so it's all nice and tight. But when it comes to just first braking or loosening those bolts, you can actually start the jacking procedure, but don't lift it right off. Then it'll hold if the wheel is free spinning. So the next step is just to grab your wheel spanner. As I said, I've already mentioned about the link for how to get super tight ones off. If you can't get them with the wheel spanner, you're going to have to move to something more substantial. Now it's anti-clockwise to get these off. Now, I've put these on so they're not stupid tight, but you certainly can get some that are stupid tight. And BMWs also have a lock nut. I'll put a link to where to find the lock nut. I'm going to run out of things to link here. Okay, that's all done apart from the lock nut. So I'll grab the lock nut, loosen that off, and then we can spin it off and the wheel will be off. Okay, so now when it comes to getting all these nuts off, you can just spin them off with a speed brace with this guy. Just spin them off like that. Actually, a BMW doesn't have nuts, it has studs. You see that there? There's like a bolt, if you like, which holds the assembly in place. But what I'm going to do, I've got myself geared up. I've just got a shaft in here and that 17mm socket. So there's no way you can undo the wheels with this. You can get a big cordless impact wrench. I'm just going to spin this off. That's the lock nut. You see that little fitting there? That's what's required to get that lock nut off. And we'll just spin all these off and then we'll take the wheel off. Okay, so now all the nuts are out. Now, if you've got an X-type BMW, this has got big asymmetric wheels, so they do have a bit of weight on them. Now, as I said, all the nuts are out, so they're not holding it on anymore, but there's actually a circle on the back of the wheel fitting onto a circle there. But if you just give it a hit, oh, that's a bit stuck. There we go. It'll come straight off. Now, do you see there wasn't far for the tyre to drop down to the ground? If you've jacked it way up in the air, then that's going to drop and be a lot more dramatic. But, so I'll just spin that around. And again, a lot of BMWs aren't going to have the wheel this size. So if you look in there, this here is the circle which fits over this, and that's what holds it in place. So there you go, wheel is off, and that's all that's required to put it back on again. Obviously you need to lift it back up, lining up these two circles, and then you spin it so to line up these. It doesn't matter which one the lock nut goes into, and then bolt the wheel back up. And you must do it tight. If you're using a speed brace, really good bit of tension as you do it up. They mustn't be loose. And yeah, there you go. That's the basics and what it's going to need in order to take the wheel off. I mean, if you're fitting mud flaps, if you're working on your brakes, if you're wanting to check anything, it's just so many reasons that you'd want to take a wheel off. We're going to get a puncture repaired. So many reasons. Okay, thanks for watching this, and check the links in the description for any of the parts. I'll go through, I'll pick out the junk brands, won't put anything like that in there at all, but some good equipment so you can set yourself up so you can do this sort of thing at home.